Greetings, my excellent friend.
Welcome to Most Excellent Adventure to
Heavy Metal
History.
All right, so listeners, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting here with Josh from the band. Well, what band? Why don't you tell everybody what band you're in, what you do, and then we'll kind of go from there. I'm bad at introductions.
That's fine, man. I'm Josh Perrin from Basilysk, founder of Basilysk. Only original member of Basilysk, and I play guitar and scream my ass off as loud as I can usually.
Yeah, you've been working since like 2010 on kind of keeping the band going. I mean, you put out like some EPs and demos and shit, right? And then this is coming up, your first full length.
First full length. It's been a long time coming. I'm very it's a lot to get off my chest, you know.
Yeah, man, 9 years of hard work. I think that's something a lot of people don't really kind of take into account when a band's like trying to start or get off the ground is, you know, there can be missteps along the way, lineup changes, money problems.
Yeah, especially from where I come from, it's, you know, there's no fucking metal, dude. I'm probably the only person in my whole high school. Actually, I know for a fact I'm the only person in my whole high school that knew who fucking Burzum was, or Emperor, or fucking Death, dude. Like, you know,
I had that same
it was
thing.
Tough. Yeah,
it's kind of a weird thing when you grow up in smaller towns and then you're into all this weird ass music and people are like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, dude, I was a fucking freak. I still am.
I remember, you know what, this is kind of funny. I remember actually kind of getting into a fight with a kid in school because I had Slipknot's Iowa record. And, you know, like sometimes teachers would let you play stuff in class, at least at my school. And I didn't really know the difference of like playing a heavy metal song and how weirded out people would be by it. So, you know, playing the Heretic Anthem and this fucking big, stupid redneck dude like picks a fight with me after the class because I'm a Satan worshiper. And I was just like, the fuck? Like, what's wrong with you, man? It's just music. Like, who cares? It's not hurting you.
Yeah, there's the stigma around it, unfortunately. But, you know, I try to avoid all that shit. I try to avoid giving people fuel for that sort of fucking witch hunt and, you know, for their tortures for the witch hunt, you know. So, I try to stay away from the fucking satanic thing just because, you know, that's not what metal's all about. It's far beyond that. It's far greater than that. So it's about power, baby.
Yeah, I think just because one little subgenre made it so prolific that it was all about Satan, you know, with like black metal mostly. It's weird that kind of became the mainstream outlook on what heavy metal is for some weird reason.
Yeah, I think it started way before that. I mean, if you look at like rock and roll and shit like that, it was kind of part of, you know, the agenda, I guess, you know. It was just like, unfortunately, you know, music's been weaponized for a long fucking time, since the 40s.
That's a good point.
So, you know, I think it's just, and now it's getting like mainstream with the fucking satanic thing. You know, you see it in the fucking pop acts now. It's like, you know, anytime you see that kind of shit going on, you know there's something behind it if it's getting that big and so pushed on people. So, I stay away from it. I stay to what's true to, you know, me and what metal is actually about.
So you were mentioning, you know, kind of growing up in like a smaller town and stuff and being one of the only people that listened to bands like Burzum and stuff. What were some of those first records you remember hearing and finding out about that like really resonated with you, that you're like, oh shit, like this is different and I'm into this, you know, as far as heavy metal records go?
Well, I actually come from a very big town, but, you know, I guess small-minded people, it's all the same everywhere. So, but the albums that I found, oh man, I attribute 3 albums to my style. Let's talk about that. So I attribute 3 albums to my style of writing, guitar riffs and all that. So definitely The Night Side Eclipse from Emperor, fucking Leprosy, Death, and Tomb of the Mutilated, Cannibal Corpse, and even some Rain and Blood too. I know that's like a cliche answer, but you know, that's that was kind of like a good transition from, man, you know, you mentioned Slipknot and all that shit too. Yeah, I was a fan. I'm not gonna fucking lie to the world or to myself.
Yeah.
I used to be a fan, and then I found way, way, way better stuff, and all that shit was in the past. So
yeah, that was like a bad example on my part of like I guess the most mainstream thing that I listened to, because I was definitely the kid that also had like Dimmu Borgir and shit like that going on, and Carcass.
Yeah. Hey man, you gotta. I'm not trying to hide anything.
No, same man.
Fucking honest.
I still think that Iowa record goes really fucking hard.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people say that. I hear a lot of fucking like true metalheads say that shit, but you know, I'm way over that.
Yeah. So you know, it's funny, man. That Emperor Nightside Eclipse, that's celebrating like a 25-year anniversary this year.
Yes.
It's fucking crazy that album's that old or young, I guess, but it's really stood the test of time in more ways than one. And I don't think it'll ever be one of those records that kind of ages out of the genre.
Right. And you know, that's what I love about Emperor is, you know, everybody, all the black metal acts were doing like really, really lo-fi stuff, and then there's this fucking epic just release, dude. Just epic. Same with Dissection too, but that's more Black Death. You know, but like as far as black metal, it doesn't get any fucking more, you know, beautiful than Emperor.
That's one of the things I kind of admire about that band too, is like they kind of saw what the rest of their peers were doing in that scene with the lo-fi stuff, and they were kind of like, you know what, we're better musicians than that, so we're gonna kind of kick it up a notch. And I think that's how you like really push a genre forward, instead of like worrying about like lo-fi DIY kind of stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, it takes bands like that to really try and push everything forward by thinking outside the box and doing what their peers are not doing.
Exactly, and that was an influence too. Just not only the music, but that mindset. You know, let's like fucking do something different. Let's make art, right? So that's, you know, that's what we do. That's what Basilysk is all about, baby. It's art. It's being different. It's just being true. I don't try to fucking fit in. You know, everybody's doing the just real brutal death metal, trying to be brutal and all that shit, man. But like, you know, that's so overdone. Just do something that's going to, like you said, push things forward. Mm-hmm. Let's keep going forward. We got plenty of brutal stuff to listen to, you know, throughout the fucking couple decades that shit's been around. Let's take it a step further.
Yeah, I've noticed it's been a big trend the past couple of years with like that really cavernous, heavy sounding death metal, you know, bands like Tomb Mold and Outer Heaven and all that. Not that I don't enjoy those from time to time, but it's definitely been a huge thing the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And, you know, like it's kind of when one band, for lack of a better term, like hits it big, you know, with a certain sound, you see a lot of people just kind of like aping off that
hopping
same sound.
On the bandwagon.
Yeah. I mean, it's inevitable, but you know, that's how, I guess that's how you get like a new sub genre.
Yeah. Well, you know what, like I could respect some Outer Heaven, you know, they're local, not that I really know them or anything, but they make good shit, you know, like it is the brutal thing. They got the brutal thing going on, but it's good at least, you know, it's, you know, they got some Demolic influence in there, you know, some different influences other than just fucking being just caveman shit, you know. So.
Yeah, no, I'm not knocking it myself. Like I said, I listened to it, but it's, you know, it's a thing that you notice when you like hear a lot of bands and a lot of records that were like hyped up, you know, they're all starting to sound the same, and it's like, okay, well, this is like a new thing that people are playing. You know what I'm really waiting for? Successfully so far, nobody's really managed to capture that kind of same sound, but that band Primitive Man.
Okay.
I don't know. They're just like ridiculously heavy and slow. And I've not heard any bands like really trying to ape that sound too much yet, but I feel like it's the next thing that people are going to try and like pick up on.
The next level of heaviness, you mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it could be done. It could be, you know, creative and innovative and stuff like that. But all the production sounds the same. That's the thing, you know. It's like it's like a new style of production, the new sound.
Yeah, the new Scott
And
Burns.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it. It's just the new sound, and that's something that we were totally trying to fucking avoid, and we did with the new album.
So was this kind of like your mindset from the early days too, when you first kind of started writing music and wanting to get the band together, like trying to create something new? I mean, obviously everybody kind of goes into it with that intention, but like, what was your personal kind of goal with it when you wanted to start writing music as a band?
Well, it started as a one man. It started as just me. I did a 2-track demo, uh, 2 tracks that you could hear off the first album, but in a demo form. So that was Basilysk and Witches of the North. And so my whole direction was, yeah, just be different. I wanted to combine those albums that I mentioned before, the Death album, Cannibal Corpse album, and Emperor album. I wanted to combine all those styles, and I think I did it fucking very successfully. You could hear it on the first album, and you could definitely hear it on this album. This album had a little bit more influences, than just those three. But
Yeah.
as far as my mindset, yeah, dude, I just wanted to make music that resonated with my old school influences that I had at the time and still have.
Do you ever find yourself walking that fine line of, I guess, like trying to still keep that old school sound, but also like we talked about, like pushing it forward, and like how do you figure out ways to like do that from a songwriting perspective?
Yeah. Well, it all comes from the heart, dude. I don't really try to do anything. It's what's gonna sound good. It's what I want to hear. That's the direction. It's
I think
what
that's
I think
important.
is gonna sound like. Like I said, like I'm not too big of a fan of a lot of the newer stuff. So it's like, what do I want to hear? I
Yeah.
got tons of fucking influences, tons of albums I listen to, annually, um, at certain times of the year. I'm a very like seasonal person. Black metal in the winter
I
and then
feel
like
it.
thrash. You know what I mean?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So I got like a cycle going on of like classic albums that I hold dear. But now it's just like, what do I want to hear? What's the kind of new step that I want to hear? And hopefully our shit, sparks some sort of fucking renaissance or some shit.
Yeah, that's the
And other
hard thing
bands start taking
nowadays.
that mindset. Yeah.
Everything's just so flooded and like easily accessible. Is like, how do you start that next renaissance of like
Yeah.
music and genre? And man, it's like a weird game of chess at this point. Like, like on one hand you need all those like kind of generic sounding bands, so that way when you have that one band that sounds completely different and completely insane compared to
Right.
everything else, it makes them stand out way more.
Right. Right. So in a sense, I am kind of grateful for all that fucking bullshit
Yeah.
too, because, when we put our stuff out, coming out in 10 days now, and I'm sure you've heard it already, but
Yeah.
it's gonna make it that much more fucking of an impact. And that's what I wanted to do with this fucking album, is make an impact. That's why I spent so much time on it.
Yeah, I've listened to it a few times, and the one thing, like, you were talking about all these influences, I couldn't really pin down one exact like
Right.
style in this whole record. I was like, oh, this sounds
Right.
like this, or this kind of reminds me of this, and then it would just fucking change up to something else. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? But in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean that in a complimentary way there.
Right.
Is there, you were talking about songs sounding different in some of your influences. The two songs that stuck out to me the most, and it sucks I can't tell you the names because the promo that I got, all the names are all fucked up on it, and they're like numbers for some reason. So I don't know what the tracks are actually called.
All right, well, explain it to me. I'll let you know.
So there's one song for sure that it reminds me very much of Andy LaRocque, like his playing style. Very
Ooh,
not
that's a
not
fucking
necessarily like,
compliment and a half.
what's that?
That's a compliment and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like necessarily sounding like King Diamond or Merciful Fate, like as
Yeah.
far as a song, but it's just like the kind of riffing that was used
Mhm.
in the song was like, oh shit, like that sounds like a fucking Andy LaRocque riff. Like,
Shit.
yeah, but it's later in the album. If I had to guess, I would say it was like track 7 or 6, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
So it's either Karma or Fire.
okay.
But was it the one with like 3 solos?
Hmm.
They kind of both of them kind of have a lot of solos.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the thing is there's some with like a few solos in there.
Well, all right. So was it the all right? So it's either those two. There's
Yeah.
Karma is the fucking like 15-minute medley, you know. So it's either that one or the other song Fire is like 6 something minutes.
I think there's another one too. So like this one, the other one I'm kind of thinking of too, just kind of maybe you can
Yeah.
help pick it out. I think it was like either right after that song or the one after, uh, after that song, where it was like kind of it, or it could have been the same song because of the time. I just kind of go off on a tangent here actually.
Yeah.
This is the thing about getting sent promo shit is like half the time when you download it and then throw it in iTunes because of like the watermarks and shit they put on there,
Right.
like everything is all fucked up, like the track times, the track names, and it's like, well, shit, how am I supposed to know like what any of this stuff is without having to refer to? I'm gonna cut this out by the way, but like having to refer back to like the fucking promo email like 5 times to figure out where all this shit is.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's all right. Just explain and I'll let you know the title.
okay, so yeah, there's another song on there that sounds like very Tony Iommi-ish kind of riffs. Doesn't sound like Black Sabbath really, but it's just got those like really crunchy kind of guitar tones. But that, like how Iommi has those really cool harmonies that just like, it sounds like a Black Sabbath song. You know it when you hear it. And it's just like, it very much reminded me of like an Iommi kind of riff
Okay.
/ song.
So that's probably the outro kind of little thing we did for Karma, and which is titled Afterlife. So
Okay.
Karma is like a 3-part song, but that part, it sounds like you're talking about Afterlife because that was very much like a fucking nod to Black Sabbath.
Okay, so it might have been the same song then, and because it was so long, that makes a lot of sense how it just shifted.
Yes, that's probably because it was so long. You're like thinking of 3 different songs, but no, that's one song. And
Damn.
yeah, the ending, and then totally the solos were just, the whole section was just a nod to fucking Black Sabbath. Right down to the solos. So the way I recorded the solos, the way we put reamped the solos through a fucking orange amp instead of like what we're using for the other solos and shit like that. So like it was totally, going for that. Not to like rip them off or like
No,
try
not at all.
to. Yeah, not even to try to be like a fucking stoner thing. It was just like that was like a fun fucking thing we threw in there for us,
Yeah. Yeah, that was the thing is like at no point when I was listening to it did I feel like it was like ripping anything off.
Yeah.
It was more of just like an homage or like showing your
Right.
influences, what you like. You've already said it, like you're trying to write stuff that you like and you want to hear. So
Exactly.
now that you've said that, that kind of makes a lot more sense of why that is the way it is.
Right.
So man, that's a 15-minute song. So how long did it take you to write a 15-minute song? Because I would have to think that would take quite a while.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit simpler because it's like a 3-part thing. So it's not like a straight 15-minute where everything has to flow together.
Mhm.
It was like more of, pre-birth is the intro part. So, that was like an instrumental thing. And then Karma and Friends itself. That's the actual title. That, I don't know, man. I had the riffs for a long time, like the beginning riffs for a long time, and then that was one that we all collaborated on
Okay.
as a band, that was written. It was just like I had the structure, I had the skeleton to it, but everybody threw their own fucking shit in there. Jimmy did an awesome job with that one fucking with the bass lines and like that little bass lead at the end, and everybody came up with good stuff. So that's just a taste of what's to come. Writing as a band, I wrote, you know, all the other songs pretty much it was from me. So
Yeah, because I would have to assume you've been like sitting on or working with this material for quite a while over the years, right?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, so Sinners and Molester, the first two like actual songs, not the intro song,
mm-hmm.
those go back to fucking 2012 after the first album.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's just a long time coming, dude. It was, shit that I had to get off my chest.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about music and writing an album like this, it seems like a lot of bands or people that write do one of two things. It's just like it's a concept album or it's just music. Or I guess I'm actually adding a third thing here. It's more personal, like you were saying. Like you have a lot of shit that you need to say or get out or do, and then it comes from like a more authentic place as far as like the end product.
Right. Yeah. It's this. All this shit's very, very personal, man. Very personal. The lyrics are very personal. I don't know if you got any lyrics sent to you or not, but it's just especially the song Fire. It comes from, that song's pretty much about like this whole battle, this whole time from the first album till now, until this album comes out. That whole battle of getting this music out, it was a lot, dude. Just that's a very personal song. Yeah.
Well, I mean, with that kind of struggle, there had to have been a lot of times where you were like, I'm sure, like wanting to give up or being like, what the fuck is the point in this? Like, what kind of kept you going and pushing forward to keep doing this and making sure that your art and music gets out there to people?
Yeah. Really, I mean, I did have somewhat of a little break, I was always writing, but I never had this big of a fucking, it's just crazy how it all came together, dude, because like I said, I had those couple songs, started at least right after the first album.
Yeah.
And then what kind of kept me going was, I'll tell you this. What motivates me most is, not great music, okay? Great music is very inspiring, makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But what motivates me to keep writing is shitty music.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, you know why? Because I want to fucking destroy it. Yeah. So that's what kind of keeps me going is, I just want to create stuff that's going to wipe this shit out, man.
Yeah, it's that's like an ever ongoing battle. Like personally for me, like one of the things that I like preach on here, I guess, is like trying to be a little more inclusive with music and stuff like that. But at the same time, like I'm also a hypocrite with that same thing because there are bands that I think are just fucking complete garbage and shit on every chance I get. But it's another thing when you have that kind of shitty music that motivates you to the point where you just want to up the game a little bit more to make them look worse. Yeah. I mean, why not? Yeah.
Well, I'm not necessarily out to like make anybody look bad. Yeah. I don't, that would be kind of like a cocky of me to do. But what I want people to do is appreciate good stuff. I want people to recognize good stuff. So when you're used to hearing all this fucking garbage and then you hear our album or, something that's great that's coming out today, then that's when you appreciate it. Kind of like what you said before. It takes all that fucking garbage to make something good stand out. So
yeah, maybe
it has its place.
Yeah, and I think too the other thing that's at least happened to me a lot of times is I'll hear of a band when they put something out and I won't like it at first. Like maybe my brain or whatever just wasn't quite ready for what they had to offer, and then I'll revisit something, or at least when I was younger. Not so much now. I pretty much try to listen as much as I can. But there was that point in time where like I just would write things off immediately because it quote unquote sucked, and then revisit it years later and be like, what the what the fuck? I'm an idiot. Like, this is so
Yeah.
good. Like, how did I not appreciate this one Carcass album because somebody told me it sucked and I only heard one song off of it, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Or, you know, pretty much, the one band that I think gets the most shit for their discography in a weird way is Morbid Angel. And to me, there's only one album that's just complete shit, and everybody
we all know
conveniently agrees on that one album. But I think the other ones that get shit on are they're wrong. Like, all their albums are really fucking good.
I totally agree with you, dude. You know, Domination gets shit on all the time, but dude, that is such a good fucking album. That every song is good on it. Yeah. I don't know why. I can't understand why people don't like it.
You know what's funny though is I did read not too long ago. I think that even Eric Rutan, he doesn't hate like the songs on it. He just hates the way it sounds. Like, as far as the
production. Trey was saying the same thing.
Yeah, and I get that.
The drum triggers he hated and all that stuff. And you know, it's way different from the band's perspective than ours, right? As fans.
True.
So, you know, it could be a lot of things that they wanted to. I know Trey was not happy with the lyrics and stuff like that. Apparently fucking Dave Vincent went into the studio and just kind of laid him down without going over anything with Trey, and it kind of didn't even fit the whole Morbid Angel theme, which, you know, the ancient ones and all that shit.
Yep.
It was more like a satanic thing that David Vincent wanted to do. But all in all, the music, the guitar work is fucking amazing. You know, Eric Rutan, I think, you know, that's the best. Actually, I don't know. I like the Steve Tucker in there too, but that was a great lineup.
Yeah.
Eric Rutan, both Eric Rutan albums are fucking great. So I think he had a lot of good influence on that band.
I'll tell you, excuse me. There's something kind of funny I noticed too. If you've listened to the new Hate Eternal record and then go back and listen to Morbid Angel's Formulas Fatal to the Flesh.
Yeah.
If you listen to the song Nothing Is Not,
okay.
I forget which song it is on the new Hate Eternal record, but it's very, very similar. I'm not saying he ripped it off, but I'm saying that it's very, very similar. And I know he left the band around that time, so I'm wondering if like he was responsible for maybe writing some of that song unbeknownst to us.
Okay. That's true. I mean, yeah, I'm not too familiar with Hate Eternal. I've heard a couple of his stuff. It's just not up my alley.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, like that's like the brutal stuff. Yeah, it's like, it's just too much. There is such thing as too much, right? In this genre, I don't know. I think so. But
yeah, I think that's with any genre, man. Like you can be too much of anything, and then you know,
too much fucking blast beats. No, not for me. I need grooves, man. I need grooves. As you could hear in our music.
Yeah.
Lots of grooves. But yeah, that's a good observation. But he did come back for Summoning Gateways to Annihilation. So
yep. Also a great album.
Yeah, I think so too. It's actually one of my favorite fucking album arts from Dan Seagrave.
Yeah.
I have it in I have a fucking poster flag of it. I have a signed print from Dan Seagrave. I actually met Dan Seagrave at Death Fest, in Maryland Death Fest. And I have a patch. I got it all, dude. I got the CD. I just, for some reason, that fucking cover, man, resonates with me.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, you know, that's another important thing that goes into like the creation of music is like just the cover art, the lyrics, the music. Like it's all this one cohesive little thing. And you know, if you have like a bad cover, then people shit on that for like the rest of the time, even though it has.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Morbid Angel, the new fucking Morbid Angel album, that's some dumbass fucking. I'm sorry, dude. That's. I mean, it's good. It looks good. It's good art. You know, it's digital, but it's good art. But that is not Morbid Angel, man.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't fit at all.
I told my friend, I was like, man, it kind of looks like a Santa Claus devil thing.
Yes, I saw somebody fucking shit on that album. Somebody was doing like a review, and they were like, yeah, it looks like a PlayStation 2 fucking video game cover. And that is totally an accurate description.
Wow. Oh man, you know what though? I do like the album regardless of that. I will say that it was a nice little return to form for them.
I don't know, man. It didn't click with me. Maybe I have to listen. I know they remastered it or some shit, right?
Already?
I think so. I heard something like that. They were trying, because that was my thing, was it's that new production sound. And it's like, that's not more of an Angel. I don't know. Whatever.
I could see that.
I thought, I had high hopes for it. I had really high hopes. I thought it was going to be a great comeback. It actually really let me down. But it's better than the one before it, so.
Yeah, I guess when you have to compare it to the shit that came before, it's just like, well, exactly. Okay, this is like the best.
I think that's kind of why people were praising it.
Yeah.
And I think too, it was a little pretentious of people to praise it because it's kind of like, oh, this is what we've been waiting for. It's so good. No, it's Morbid Angel. It's the first album they did in what was it, like 8 years or something like that, right?
Yeah, pretty long time.
Just because you've been waiting a long time for it doesn't make it good.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way that past year with Dimmu Borgir's new album, Behemoth. It was just like all that time waiting, and then we get this. Like, no.
Yeah, it's a letdown. But like, speaking of new music, there's a lot of good younger bands coming up. So.
Yeah, man, that's the one thing I've kind of enjoyed about doing this podcast is like when I get stuff for like newer bands, I'm trying to jump all over it because I'd rather talk to not that because I do a history podcast. Obviously, I want to talk to like the legendaries, so to speak. But I really love giving a platform for newer bands to kind of talk about shit too, because that's just as important as all the bands that have come before them. Like
exactly, it's more important now because look at fucking Slayer. They're giving it up. They're hanging it up.
Yeah.
Fucking people are dying. Lemmy's dead.
Yeah, Ozzy.
Who knows when Ozzy? That will be the day, right? And then it's like there needs to be the younger bands, and you got to support the younger bands because without that support, there's not going to be any new good music. And just fucking buy the album, like buy music. That's support. Go to the shows. Like you could spend fucking $30 whatever it is to see Cannibal Corpse for the fucking 15th time. Not that it's not a good show. I love Cannibal Corpse, but it's like, spend that money on going to see a local band that's fucking up and coming. Give them a shot. People, we need chances. We need a shot. We need to fucking get on big tours, and it's a lot of people are just like clinging to the old stuff. It's like, well, fucking dig, you gotta fucking dig deep, but there are good bands coming up.
Yeah, I think local
that deserve
bands
the attention.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, man. That's why, I spend so many hours a week just trying to find new stuff or like subscribing to YouTube channels that like post new music and Bandcamp, all that stuff. It's a lot of work in itself just trying to keep up. Like I haven't really found anything new myself recently that I've been like personally going crazy over, but I mean there's been some stuff I found that eventually like the band like got some recognition. I'm like, oh shit, like I knew about them. But also, like not just like local bands, but also opening acts for bigger tours. This is the one thing that has like irked me, and I used to be like this when I was younger too. Now not so much, but the one thing I fucking hate hearing all the time is, oh, I'm only here to see this band or the headline band, and then people show up late to the show. They don't ever see the opening acts. They don't support the whole tour package. They're just there for one or two bands, and it's like, why are you here?
Right.
Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy the show. Like, I get you spent your money, you can do whatever you want. But you're potentially missing out on some new band you might not have heard before that is an opening act,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's important to see them live too, because that's a huge part of it. Maybe these people listen to it online and they were like, oh, this isn't for me, but go see them live, see what they're all about. And it could go either way. It could be like, oh, this is, this kind of matches what I didn't like when I heard it online, or this is awesome. Like they're way better live. I've seen a couple bands like that recently. So
Yeah, I had to stop doing the whole checking a band out before I go see them thing.
Yeah.
Just so I could like, I'd rather hear them live as opposed to like on a record or recording or whatever. Because sometimes, man, like you'll see a band live and they're actually worse than the recording.
Right.
And it's like, oh, that that sucks. So then I'll go back and like, okay, let's see what they sound like on the record. It's like, oh, okay, this is better. I don't know. It's a 50-50 shot, I guess. Being realistic here.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it's important to at least give them a shot.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. That's just me, kind of in my later years. Not that I'm terribly old, but
you're getting fucking old.
I'm in my 30s, so I'm not 15 anymore.
Yeah.
So let's get back to you, man, in the band. I know we kind of touched on the fact that you were kind of sitting on some of these songs for a little bit, but when did the whole kind of process for this new record start up? Like, when did you finally start getting everything together for Emergence, and how did that come about? Because, I mean, you said you got a new lineup, too. I'm sure there was a lot of stuff involved in getting that together.
Yeah, it goes deep, dude. But, so I'll take you back, I moved to Philadelphia after the first album. I moved here to Philly, and when I moved here, I didn't have Basilysk anymore, and I was like, fuck, I gotta do something, right? So I met these dudes at a Suffocation show earlier that year, which ended up being Mike, my drummer now, and his buddy Tim, that were in a band together called D-Form, and we kind of kept in touch for a little bit, not too much. I appreciate they were going for an old school sound and stuff like that. So I ended up going to Maryland Death Fest with Tim, and we became fucking good friends after that. So like when I moved here to Philly, they were right across the bridge. They were in South Jersey, and they're looking for a vocalist for the first time to get a live lineup. So I hopped on that right away because I'm like, I need to keep my fucking voice fresh. I can't, let it atrophy while I'm fucking at school, and not do any music. I have to do something, whether it's Basilysk or not. And I like their music. So we hit it off. Years went by, D-Form broke up, and it was me and Mike jamming. And he's the fucking best drummer I know, to be honest. Best drummer I know. He's super easy to work with, and we just, started fucking wailing on these Emergence songs. And before you know it, it's me and him writing some of the stuff. And then we went through sort of a lineup change. Our friend Alex was in the band for a little bit, and he quit. And then it was just me and Mike, and the whole plan with that was just, all right, we'll just fucking record an album, and then try to get people to fucking join after that. But so we ended up doing a fucking demo, me and Mike, and we were I just got really sick of not playing live. Okay, so like Basilysk kind of played live in a couple years, so I was like, fuck it. I go on Craigslist. I found Luke Gary. He was ready to melt some faces, quote, melt some faces. And so I sent the shit his way. He came over. He learned the songs like really, really fucking quick. He's super intelligent dude. Picked up the songs like nothing, dude. It was a breeze teaching him the songs.
Nice.
And then I was like, fuck, well, this is going good. This is a surprise, right? Like I didn't expect it to get this easy. And we were like, fuck, well, we got to get a bass player. So I met Jimmy at the last D-Form show. He came to see, I don't know what band he was there to see, but we met him, and he was interested in playing bass for D-Form. And then it broke up right after that show. So I hit him up knowing, at least he was interested in our last stuff. And I sent him the demo for Sad State of the Art. And he, loved that song. I guess it reminded him of I don't know what he said, like early napalm death or something like that.
Okay.
So he was on board, and the rest is history. So we've been jamming with those two guys. Me and Mike have been jamming with them since 2016.
So it's pretty safe to say like solid lineup now.
Oh, dude, this lineup has incredible fucking talent, and just like, I don't know, we get along pretty well. We're not like the super, we're not a super close knit kind of group of friends or anything. We're actually pretty loose knit, but when it comes to music and practice and the band, it just meshes really, really fucking well.
So with writing a lot of stuff, it was just mainly you and Mike that had everything like kind of ready to go, or
we had Molester Dreams, Sad State of the Art, obviously, and Sinners, because we recorded a demo.
Okay.
With those couple of those songs, and then kind of everything fell in place for Fire and Karma after the other two joined, and then like the instrumentals and stuff like that were obviously added on later. But I had the idea for the intro song with the cicadas, the title track. I had that idea for a while. It just kind of, and that was me playing acoustic guitar, so that was kind of in the back of my mind for a while. But everything fell together really nicely. So
I was talking to somebody recently about like kind of composing songs and everything like that, and he kind of mentioned to me something I didn't really think about consciously, but maybe subconsciously. Like once he said it, it kind of clicked, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But the fact of like letting a song kind of breathe and like the less is more approach, because he was like, so many songs nowadays are just filled with like blast beats and vocals like over everything, just vocals, and, it doesn't breathe. And I was like, oh shit, like you're right. There's a lot of stuff now that like doesn't breathe. And then listening to this record, like there's a lot of moments, obviously because of the instrumentals and stuff like that. It's nice to hear the playing. You're letting it breathe. You're not just bombarding it with vocals constantly.
Exactly.
And blast beats and, really showing the craft of like writing and composing a song as opposed to like jumbling everything together all at once for somebody to just try and, dissect.
Right. Making it a piece of art. That was the whole goal with, I guess that's going to be always the goal with Basilysk, but for this album, it was like, all right, well, we just fucking blew you away with the first 3 songs, or, the first 3 full songs, ending with Sad State, the most intense one. And it's like, all right, let's give you a little break, and we'll put Eyes in there with the acoustic instrumental. And then we'll fucking come back and punch you in the face again with the end of the album. So yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like everything's got to flow. I have a good sense of flow of an album, what makes an album, work, and not just be a fucking collage, of songs and riffs, So it is an art form, making an album. Like I always appreciated King Diamond, the concept thing, and how that all flows. And like we were saying before, actually, Domination, the Morbid Angel album, that flows really well. That's a really good, like I said, I believe every song on the album is awesome. As far as the song goes, you could argue with the production and all that shit, but like as far as the song writing goes, that album's fucking awesome, dude. And it flows really well. So
yeah, that's something I didn't appreciate much until I got, at least in my 20s, is the whole album, because when I was younger it was like, oh, I only like this song, like I'll skip over everything else. And now I have to listen to a whole album front to back. Like, every now and then there's an album and it's like 1 or 2 songs just don't click with me, and so it's like, I'll skip that. But for the most part, I've really realized that a lot of bands nowadays definitely take into account and put more thought into the whole cohesiveness of the album. Because I mean, this isn't true like for a blanket statement, but there are records out there where like you mentioned, it kind of sounds like a cut and paste, like riff, whatever, and it doesn't work as a whole package, and I think that takes away from the final product, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm the same way, dude. I have to listen to the whole album. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just never really thought of, actually, I never really thought about just, uh, a fucking playlist kind of approach where it's just like, oh, I'll listen to this fucking song on this album and I'll skip over to this album. No, like it's got to be the whole album, and that's what kind of taught me to appreciate the flow of an album.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been, you know, whether it's subconscious or conscious, I've been studying that kind of art form for a long time. The flow of an album, what makes it work, and I applied it to my own music.
I think that's one of the craziest things I always find out too when I'm like researching stuff or doing like my history episodes, where it's like, oh yeah, so like originally this track was supposed to be here, but instead like it got flipped to here. And then when you think about like, that track listing being like the opposite of what you know it to be, and you try to like fit it that way in your head, you're like, oh, that wouldn't make sense if that song was there, because you already know, it's supposed to sound this way. Like that track being here would be way out of place, and it would throw off the whole flow. So
Right.
I don't know. It's some people, I guess, probably don't put that much thought into it, but I appreciate the ones that do, because I mean, it takes just as much effort to do that as anything else, as far as like writing the music and getting the whole package together.
Right. Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of people gloss over.
Yeah.
It's not something people pay attention to. But also in the old days, I think it was more of, you had the singles, like the big hits, and that's what sold the album.
Yeah, and that
You know what I
does
mean?
not
So,
happen
like,
anymore.
right, that's not what happens anymore. But you had the singles that sold the whole thing, so all the other songs would be fucking garbage. You know what I mean? But like, you had to buy the whole album to listen to that song that you
Yep.
like. That's how it used to work. Now it's totally different with the internet and all the free music going on. So
Yeah.
well, that kind of fuels me to just make every fucking song sound good.
Yeah, and that's how it should be, man.
Every song's a hit. Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't be worried about making one song better than, the other 9 or 10 that you're going to write. That's fucking stupid.
No, there's no filler in Basilysk. I mean, you could say, yeah, we only have 7 songs on the album, but they are crafted fucking songs. Same with the first album, dude. Like, there's not one song that I've written that I don't like, or that I could say, like, oh, I should have put more effort into. They're all fucking pieces of art.
So what's one way that you feel that over the years you've like really grown as a musician as like a songwriter, that you've kind of noticed, or maybe that you haven't noticed and like people have brought up to you?
Grown as a songwriter, I guess. Well, I definitely put more emphasis on like the solos for this album.
Okay.
Like I always write to push my own boundaries. So, I'm not the fucking best solo artist. I'm not fucking Dimebag Darrell or anything like that, but I push myself to be better. So like what I wrote was totally out of my fucking comfort zone, The solos on this album pushing my own abilities. So I think that's important as far as answering that question, and being a better songwriter and stuff like that. Like, I just push myself to be better.
That's good. I mean, that's how it should be, man. I feel like some bands get a little comfortable and they're not really trying to push themselves anymore, and that's unfortunate, because as much as
that's where the technical stuff comes in, like like Cannibal Corpse. They have like a lot of the same sounding stuff, especially in the most recent albums, but you got to give them credit for they are becoming very like technical and doing different time signatures and change ups and shit like that. So they are trying to do other things. It just ends up sounding a lot, like their last album.
You literally just took the words out of my mouth. I'm not even kidding. I was about to say Cannibal Corpse. As much as I know they're like trying to push the boundaries, they still sound pretty much the same.
Right.
Yeah, that's fucking hilarious.
But yeah, it is funny. But early Cannibal Corpse, that was, I always go back to that. For a while, for a couple of years, I was really, really big into like the I don't know, George Fisher era.
Yeah.
He's a great front man and everything, but I don't know, something drew me back into the Chris Barnes era, where that's kind of like the only Cannibal I listen to now.
I think for me, I go more towards the Jack Owen era of like guitar playing stuff, man, because the one album that always I feel like gets overlooked is Gallery of Suicide.
That is a good album.
There's some
I haven't listened to it in a while.
Monster riffs on there.
Yeah.
And they're all Jack Owen riffs. I know it for sure.
Yeah.
And most people just kind of like even the band kind of writes that album off, and because I think it was their second album with Corpse Grinder, and it was just like a feeling out, getting used to him process at that point.
Right.
And, yeah, it's weird. But I like that
because
record.
like Chris Barnes was involved in a lot of Vile.
Yeah.
Like there was there was like a demo called Created to Kill with some of that material with Chris Barnes on vocals. I don't know if you ever heard that one.
I've not actually.
Yeah, listen to it. It's kind of cool actually. Hearing both vocalists. You got the two different albums, same stuff.
Yeah, I liked hearing stuff like that for sure, because it's like an alternate reality at that point. Like, how would this album sounded if Chris Barnes was still in the band? Like,
yeah,
no, but that's your little taste of it right there.
Right, and whatever. It's Cannibal Corpse. They're doing their thing.
Oh man.
Like I said, I have to appreciate them regardless, because it was a big influence on me in my songwriting. So
I will say the one thing I definitely obviously everybody gives them credit because they're like one of the big original death metal bands, but they always have that one song on every record that is just so stupidly heavy that kind of blows everything else out of the water on the rest of the record, and you're like, how the fuck do they keep doing this, man? It's just, I don't know.
Who's this?
Cannibal Corpse.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like some of the I mentioned a lot of the more recent albums sounded the same, but I remember like Evisceration Plague, like the title track.
Yep.
I love that's still to me a really, really good song. And then I forget what the other album was with something about Buried in Cement, Encased in Concrete.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was a really, really cool song. So they, like you said, they have those big songs, but the rest is just kind of technical noodling and I don't know. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not really a fan of like the too much thing, like too much technical, which is, it's funny because a lot of the reviews we've been getting have been calling us like progressive and like having a hint of technical, and that's cool too, but that's not really what I was going for. But I guess that comes with like the pushing the boundaries kind of thing, right? So you gotta be, it's gonna be called technical if you're not just writing caveman shit.
I think hint is fair. That's not like overtly technical,
Yeah.
If you just kind of, from my personal perspective, if I take a look at how some of the riffs are composed and with the leads over the top and some of the harmonies in some songs, I would call that like a hint of technical, personally. Yeah. But that's not a bad thing.
I guess it is. Yeah.
But I mean, even you said one of your influences was Death. So I mean, I feel like a lot of Death is like pretty technical to a degree. Right.
He just he was pushing the boundaries back then.
Oh man.
And that's why everybody hated the older stuff, or the the newer stuff, I should say. Which the only Death album that I didn't really appreciate was Sound of Perseverance. I think everything else is awesome. Like a lot of people don't like the post anything after Human or anything after
Leprosy,
spiritual healing.
You know what?
So it's I like the progressive stuff. I like what he did and the pushing boundaries and not just being stagnant in his sound.
Yeah, never.
So much respect. He became a very, very good musician and songwriter. So
Yeah, you know, now that we're
I
talking
don't
about
blame them.
this, I kind of realized too that's another band that their discography is extremely divisive amongst fans.
Yeah, yeah, like I don't know. I don't really see the problem with fucking like individual thought patterns,
No.
or like I don't see the problem.
Did you see that documentary they did for
Which one?
it was just called Death. It just kind of chronicles like, you know, him starting out kind of all through the discography and what happened between each record with the lineup changes and all
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff. And it was really well done, but I think they kind of glossed over a few things with like why there were so many lineup changes. It seems like Chuck was like a hard dude to work with,
yeah. I mean,
unfortunately.
that
But
would be that would be the best explanation, right? Like,
yeah,
but I've also had lineup changes, and I think it's just I could, maybe see where he was coming from. It's like you need people that are going to be 100% on board with this, right? So
yes.
maybe those people weren't going in his direction,
No, I think that's exactly what it was,
And
man.
with his innovation and stuff like that, and pushing the boundaries, it's like maybe those people didn't want to go that way and be, um, more technical and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I
So
know we keep getting off topic here, talking about your record, because that's why we're here. Uh, so the recording process, man. Like, I know kind of a newer band, so I'm sure like you don't have a ton of money to throw at like recording. Like,
oh, hell no.
did you do like the home recording thing, or did you have like a little bit of studio time? Like, how did that end
Yeah.
up happening?
Yes, you're absolutely right with the no money thing. This is a fucking shoestring budget album. You might not be able to tell by the production because we had a very, very good, talented, and easy to work with producer. My friend Phil from school, I met him at school, and we've been talking about this since fucking 2016, probably.
Wow.
Um, yes. So that story goes, the demo I mentioned before, the Sad State of the Art demo that me and Mike recorded, he mastered that album. He didn't mix it. It was a total fucking shit show. It's not how I wanted it to come out, but the mastering was like, okay, it made it a little bit easier on me.
Hmm.
And so that's how I met him. And I hit him up. I'm like, yeah, like I really like what you did with the master. Would you want to do a full length with us? And keep in mind, this is still just me and Mike at the time.
Yeah.
So we started fucking talking, and he was totally on board. He's very eager about it, and like that's been my guy ever since. We did we recorded some bass. Well, Jimmy recorded bass at this dude Will Meller's house in South Jersey or South Philly.
Okay.
He did some like stuff for Outer Heaven too. He's been kind of like, Redwater recording. He's been doing some more stuff, trying to get himself out there and shit. So I'll plug him too, whatever.
Yeah.
But Phil was my go-to guy. He's an hour or in change west of Philly. So it was kind of like a fucking hassle going out there all the time. But like I said, he was very like on board. He seemed like very in tune with what I wanted to do, and so that was the price you got to pay for that.
So it was so did you guys like kind of track and record everything like in your house, or you did have a
Oh,
studio
no,
to
no,
go
no,
to?
that we were going to Phil's house,
Okay.
but it was still a house. It was
But
still a house. Yeah, we did drums at an actual studio, very, very nice. It was like a farm too.
damn.
um yeah, it was like a barn kind of looking thing,
Okay.
but it had a beautiful studio in the basement. And so I forget the fucking name, Sunlight Studio or something like that.
Hmm.
And then we did everything else at Phil's: vocals, guitars, solos,
I think
and mixing and mastering.
that's kind of the nice thing about technology nowadays is, I mean, yeah, you got to sink some money into it initially, but you can make a really good sounding record on your own at home nowadays, whereas
Yeah.
20 years ago you had to go pay upwards of who knows how much to be in a fucking studio all day.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean it's a good thing and it's a bad thing because like, we were talking about all the shitty music out there. It's like anybody can do it now. It's you could be not heavily invested in making music and still make music, and that's where you get all the fucking garbage, all the nobody has integrity kind of stuff. So it's a good thing and a bad thing, but for us it was a good thing because I don't know, man, I don't fucking have money this was like a fucking another battle for me just to finance this shit.
Yeah.
Luckily we had like a pre-order thing going on where the fans could contribute into the making of the album. That helped out a lot.
I mean, that's got to be a good feeling too, knowing that people like want to hear what you have bad enough that they're already willing to put money up front.
Right. And yeah, like I know that's kind of like, it wasn't like a fucking Kickstarter thing or anything like that either. It was more just like we did it. We made a shirt, like a specific shirt for the pre-order, and then you get the shirt and a pre-order, you get the album early and stuff like that. Once it was done, we sent it out, but you get the shirt up front, so you're getting something in advance at least.
I mean, that's fair. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's even like the Kickstarter shit. It's like you gotta wait to get all that stuff, but we gave them something, as a token of appreciation, right up front.
Yeah, I think over the years my stance has changed on like the Kickstarter and crowdfunding stuff. I used to be like not very into it. I was like, man, if this feels like kind of scummy. You're asking your fans for money, and then I think the one that got me was when Protest the Hero, they got like $100,000 or some shit like that, and I was like, there's no way they're gonna use $100,000 to record an album. They're definitely pocketing some of this money. Like there's no doubt about it. That is a lot. Yeah, that was insane to me. But people love their music enough to pay them $100,000. So who the fuck am I to sit here and say that's stupid? You know what I mean? But
yeah, I think it could work. It's definitely a good idea, and I was against it for a long time too. Yeah. But now, like going through this whole thing with our album, it's like, fuck, man, it's definitely a big help. Like, it's not really a scheme or a scheme. Yeah, it's actually a big fucking help.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, my stupid mindset on it for a little while too, is it felt like, oh well, I think they're just doing this to get extra money, they don't actually need X amount of dollars, and I didn't know any better. I was a kid when that stuff kind of started to go big or viral or whatever. And now, having toured and seen behind the scenes and talking to people in bands, it's like, oh yeah, they probably need like every cent of this just to get man made.
Like right. And like the art and all that shit too, you got to keep in mind. It's not just music; it's the art, it's distribution, merch, all that shit, man. Shirts. We're working on shirts right now. It's a big fucking project.
Nice.
Well,
if you ever need somebody to design a shirt, man, I'll shoot you guys one for free. I don't care. I do. Cool. I do graphic design, so I'm always like itching to do.
Yeah, work. I do all the art.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like once you get a CD, you'll see all the shit, all my artwork.
Yeah, I've only seen the cover so far.
Right. That's another thing too. It's like I wanted to, like I said before, it's art. So I wanted to make this about not just the music, but the art too.
So what all did you put inside, if you want to elaborate on that a little more? Because I love hearing about that stuff too.
Sure. So, all right. So there's pretty much a piece of art for every song.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah, and it's all different styles too. So, I did an oil painting. I did a couple tempera paintings. You know what tempera paintings? Yeah, with egg.
Yeah.
There's did a clay piece, and I did like a mixed media piece, which is like supposed to look like stained glass, like a stained glass window.
Okay. For
sinners. Everything's conceptual, so everything fits the song. And that was a whole project. the whole fucking project, but it's something that gives value to the actual physical copy, right?
Yep.
I hate getting a fucking physical copy. I mean, I would buy it regardless, but getting a physical copy and seeing that there's no art effort, you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
That's super annoying to me as a fan, as somebody that's gonna fucking buy your stuff, because that just means like you're just putting it all towards, or maybe not even all towards music, right?
Yeah, no, who knows what they're putting it towards at that
point. Right.
That's something I do appreciate a lot nowadays, is when bands put a lot of effort into the art, and they make like these shirts that have like the album covers because it's such a good piece of art, or all these posters or wall flags, like, because if I like an album art like cover or whatever,
right,
I am definitely either going to get the shirt or whatever the biggest thing I can with like that art piece on it, because that's usually what I'm drawn to, being an artistic person myself, and I'm sure you're the same way. So I mean,
it's definitely
you talk
important.
About the Morbid Angel cover and the Seagrave stuff. It's like, how can you
like,
not
I don't want to buy that shit.
I'm a huge fan of Jacob Bannon stuff from Converge, so anytime he does like art or prints, I'm like all over that shit immediately. It's got to be a timeless piece that stands out, like the Morbid Angel thing. That's a digital, computer generated fucking PlayStation cover. Like, that's not gonna stand the test of time. That's gonna be that kind of shit. Like, looks old. Like, look at the first PlayStation graphics. It's like, at the time it was like, 3D, like this is cutting edge shit, and now it's like, dude, that looks like fucking 5-year-old put together some was trying to do 3D compared to the stuff that's out now. So I think it's important to have like a painting or a photo or something like that to use as a cover, at least. There's because that's that could be timeless. There's a string of Iron Maiden albums, I'm sure you're aware of this, but like their covers in like the late 90s, early 2000s are just all the CG eddies, and they just look so terrible. I don't know if I've ever seen them. Maybe kind of like the stuff that's with like the tour art and stuff that they're doing now. I could imagine. I think their worst cover to me personally is Virtual 11 or 9 or whatever the fuck it is. It's not even one that has Bruce Dickinson on the album. It is a terrible cover. It's just like, how the fuck did this get made? How did it get out there? Who okayed this? Who? That's the thing. Who okayed this? Why would the band? I don't know. It's nice too, because it also tells, like you were saying, you have concepts for each song and you have a piece of art that goes with it, and it gives like a little visual representation to the meaning behind the song, or even if it's just the name of the song. And I think that helps a person listening to the record a lot, But also, like, are you one of those guys too that, like, as far as lyrically, do you want people to take it like literally, or are you just like wanting people to interpret it for their own sake of what they think the song means, and not worrying about giving your meaning behind it? That's tough. I do want to convey a sort of like the message that I want to get across. Okay. I fucking hate when bands say, like, it's up to you to decide. It's like, you're just saying that because you don't want people to get offended by what you're saying, or to make it something that's not marketable. You see a lot of the mainstream, like, even like I'll take the grunge era for instance. I love grunge and all that shit, but you always heard like Kurt Cobain saying like, it's not about the lyrics, it's about the music. And even like Alice in Chains would be like, it's up to you. I feel like labels probably tell them to say that, because if they gave a definitive message to it, it's not as widely marketable to everybody. And then maybe somebody that originally liked the song wouldn't like the song, or originally liked the band wouldn't like the band after that, so it's like it's like, it's a defense mechanism for blanket
for
statement.
selling. Yeah, it's like, no, dude, my shit's like, it's not like straightforward. Like you're not gonna be able to pick it out, but I do have. There's definitely like a message there. Like if you just read the fucking lyric, like read the lyrics to "Sad State," and you'll see how pissed off I am about, the music industry and shitty music coming out and no effort being put into the art form. That's what that song is about, and you'll see how pissed off I am about hypocrisy in society with sinners of their own reality. So everything has, you could pick it out. You could pick it out, the message, and, it's not like an open interpretation thing. It's pretty fucking direct.
Yeah.
But like I don't like, I don't know. I'm not trying to mask anything.
Yeah, I think that's good. I don't know. I think I've ran the gamut on both those things where some people are just like, oh yeah, sure, this song is about this one thing, but I've heard, people come talk to me and they're like, oh, it got me through this time because it related to this thing in my life. And they're like, oh, because they don't want to make that person feel bad for
right.
misunderstanding the song or appropriating it to a certain time or feeling in their life,
Right.
But again, like you said, it's kind of a cop out because they're like, that's not what the song is about.
Right.
But I get it. I mean, I'm sure there's songs that I listen to that I appropriate certain feelings and times to that probably have nothing to do with the song whatsoever.
That's true.
But I don't know. I guess that's the good thing about the art of music. That's why we all listen to it. Even heavy metal and death metal. Like, yeah, you can have a song about coming blood and all that fucked up shit, but then you can have some like deeper political messages and shit about the state of the music scene, and it runs the gamut. And I think that's the nice thing about it. And it's also the thing too that I think a lot of people that aren't into heavy metal don't realize that there are deeper meanings to a lot of songs and bands than just the stupid, satanic death metal imagery that's out there.
Right. Exactly, man. It's like,
go ahead.
Yeah. We have enough of that shit. It's like, and that was the basis of death metal, was like tongue-in-cheek horror themed, but that's what I was saying before about Chuck and Death. He even took that to another level and made the lyrics, deeper. And the lyrics weren't like zombies and shit anymore. It was like real life stuff. I like real life stuff. Like that's the kind of lyrics that I pay attention to. Yeah,
it comes from a more authentic place, I think. I mean, I'm sure it's fun writing about zombies and death and stuff like that, but I think talking about some real things every now and then is a lot better.
And it's important, man. There's a lot of fucked up shit going on in the world, and it needs to be addressed. So, there's no, like, I think especially right now, right? So, like right now would be a bad time to talk about zombies because there are far more important things that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
For the sake of fucking not just you and your political party and, your agenda, for the sake of fucking humanity, dude. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed. So it's kind of like a bad time to sleep on that. So that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important if you look back through history, not just necessarily like heavy metal, but music in general, man, it's always been an important part. Let's just say like going back to the Vietnam era, you had bands like Creedence Clearwater Revival and I'm blanking on other ones besides them, but they were writing like anti-Vietnam War songs,
right?
Because that was like such a big part of their time,
right.
And they were trying to get a political message out there, and I mean, it's just kept going since then, pretty much.
Right.
Punk.
I mean, all art is politically driven, dude. Like, it's kind of, if it's not, then it takes away from the art. There's got to be something behind it. So I mean, even not just music, like I'm saying, like fucking look at Guernica by Picasso. It was like, that's politically driven. That's a fucking war statement. So
Yeah, so like
all that shit.
Yeah, even in just like pictures and paintings. Yeah, it's I
Right.
don't know, man. It's on one hand, I think art. How should I word this? I think it gets contrived at points because of, you know, people look at it and like, oh, it's just a fucking painting. It doesn't mean anything. On some respects, but then there's like, I guess like people like me and you, people who are more art minded in general and maybe even a little more open minded, will look at something like a painting or hear a song and be like, okay, I see the message behind that, and here's the reason why that message is there. And I feel like a lot of people need to do that more. I don't know. I don't think people maybe think analytically enough. Possibly, I just assuming here, but I don't know. I think art holds a lot of weight. In
Art
any,
is very,
any
very
medium.
important. Right. Yeah, it's very important, and it's very, very, unfortunately, overlooked and underestimated, underappreciated.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I'm talking to an artist right now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I've been like this my whole life.
Yeah.
Born this way, as the necrosexual would say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's like, that's kind of something else I stand for too, is I stand for all artists, because we're so fucking underappreciated, underpaid. It's just fucking disgusting. And then you got doctors in the pharmaceutical industry making millions of dollars. It's like, come on, it's a shit show, dude. And that's something, like I was saying, that's something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
But that's you know, and that goes along with people shutting their minds off. You know, kind of like what you were saying. They don't look for a deeper meaning. But
yeah, and I think that's like part of the goal with me doing this podcast too. Is it's somewhat of like an art outlet for me, as far as like covering a genre of music and doing the history behind it. But I think, you know, trying to dissect like what all these records meant at the time that they were put out and the stories behind them, or, you know, the new records coming out, you know, what's the story behind that? Why did this piece of art get made? That's what I want to explore and discover, because I think the stories behind them are just as interesting as the actual product itself, or, you know, for lack of a better word, product, but, you know, the piece of art itself.
That's cool. That's a good approach, actually.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that's searching for a deeper meaning too.
Who knows if it comes off that way? It could just be me rambling for an hour and a half about fucking stuff nobody cares about, but who knows?
Well, I guess there's, you know, you got to have some sort of goal, like end goal.
Yeah.
To your interviews, if you're an interviewer. Like if I were to do interviews, I was always interested in like the struggle of the artist or the musician or whatever, you know, like I'm always interested in like, what were you doing before this? Right. So that would be my end goal, is to like kind of dig that from them.
Yeah, I'm always trying to like figure out new things as far as like doing this when talking to people. You know, it's like, because I'm sure I ask stuff that like you get asked like a million times in interviews, but I try to like make it a little different, or, you know, just like talking about music or whatever it may be, so that way it's not as like cookie cutter, cut and paste. Like, trying to dig a little deeper, but sometimes, man, like people do not want to talk deeper than like, yeah, I wrote this record, it comes out March the 8th, and that's it. And it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be because everything's such a fucking, it's a war zone. It's a minefield out there now. It's like you could take somebody off without even trying. So maybe these people are just, they don't want to, you know, offend or trigger anything.
That's fair.
And it's that's the censorship, you know.
That's why I kind of try to just like explain, like, yeah, man, we're just talking about music.
Like, just shooting the shit. That's awesome. That's a really cool, laid back approach. I'm having a good time with it so far.
That's good. That's the way it should be.
Yeah, and that lets things flow. I don't know. I feel like that would let things flow a little bit easier, but I don't know. You said some people still hold back. So
Yeah, I mean,
pretty cool.
I think recently a lot of stuff that I've been doing is been a lot better, but there was a period of time, man, where like no matter who I was talking to, and maybe it was just me, I'm not discounting that either, but it was just like very like cut and paste kind of answers. And I was like, man, what's going on here? Like, why am I
Yeah,
not getting any more out of this person? I'm even trying to like cut jokes or like talk to
you're
them
right,
about other
right.
stuff in between, and it's just not happening. It's like kind of back on track. And I mean, I do that too. It's like, because I do genuinely like want to talk to you about your music and your stuff, but
Right.
like, sure, we could talk about some Morbid Angel albums or like this stuff in between. Like, why the fuck not?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the best part about talking to other metalheads. It's like you could shoot the shit for hours because
Yeah.
you have so much in common and you have all this history that you know about bands and toss that back and forth and it's just I don't know. That's I always have a really really easy time talking to other metalheads more than anybody else or
Yeah.
artists, but mostly metalheads
That's the thing too. Even if,
because we have that foundation, we have that common ground right away.
exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the nice thing is like knowing that. And even if I've run across this a few times too, where it's like even if we have differing opinions on bands or albums, I
Yeah.
still like to hear the other person's opinion on it because like maybe it's completely
Right.
valid and like why not hear somebody's opinion on why a record isn't that good?
Right.
It's like sure, it's probably not.
Right.
Maybe I'm stupid.
Or they can like maybe point out something that you didn't even think of that might make you appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I've had that
yeah.
happen a lot of times actually, where it's like, I brought up a record, I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I don't really like this so much, and then they're like, why don't you go listen to this, and then here's the story behind that, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, well that makes a lot more
Yeah.
sense now. It's cool.
Right.
So do you, what kind of gear do you use? That's another thing I like talking about too, as far as like guitars you play, like what did you use? Actually, let's do this. What was your first guitar you got? Because I always like hearing about this too. Because I
Okay,
know
that's
guitar players
that's
have gone through fucking billions of guitars over the years.
well, not me. I
Oh,
had the first guitar I ever got was a gift um from the man who taught me how to play guitar. It was a Fender fucking Squire Strat.
okay.
And I was wailing on that for a couple years, and then when I got serious about playing metal, it was like, all right, I can't really play metal on this fucking thing. So it was like I got it. I had my first job. I was like 16. I had my first job, bought my first guitar with my own money, Ibanez RG,
Nice.
and I still play it today.
Wow.
But
So you've,
I'm way overdue for a fucking. I need a fucking professional guitar. It's just that even saving and starving and it's just still, dude, life gets in the way. It's just really, really hard to fucking save money right now.
oh, I feel it.
And I could use I can use a new fucking amp rig and all that shit too. It's just like my whole thing was always, all right, I could buy all this fucking elaborate gear, but if I'm not playing out regularly, it's like, what the fuck do I have this for? I could, spend this on other shit.
Yeah.
But now it's like we're fucking getting really, really serious, and this is taking off, and it's like, all right, well, yeah, I gotta make this happen one way or another. But yeah, so I still have the same guitar. I've been as RG, and I played through I have a fucking combo amp, a Marshall combo amp, and it's like, yeah, like I feel kind of silly right now, actually. But for me, it was always more about like the energy and the songwriting than the crisp, clear sound on stage. It's like I guess really more of, in that regard, I take it more of like a punk fucking approach.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not really like a punk, I don't really listen to punk, but it's like no, just appreciate the songs and feel the music. It doesn't have to fucking like be the best sounding shit. You're at a show.
Yeah. I don't personally like care what people are playing on stage or whatever. Like it's not gonna change my opinion. Like, oh, they're rocking an orange head with a whatever
Yeah,
cab. It's cool to
yeah,
see. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, oh, nice, they're playing that, but it's not gonna take away my enjoyment of the music. I just like hearing about what people play because you know, everybody has like different setups and stuff that they think sounds good, and you know what feels right to them. I think that's the biggest thing as a guitar player is like you have that guitar that just fucking feels right when you play it, and you're like, I don't ever want to play anything else again. So
right.
Cool
I have yet to, you know, I've yet to find my dream guitar or play my dream guitar, but I could work with the one I got and the amp I got. You know who really got me thinking about gear was Luke, the other guitarist. He's like a gearhead, so he kind of opened my eyes to it too. And it's like once he started saying like, yeah, I can't really hear you on stage, or you know, and then people start pointing out, yeah, like I can only hear Luke and all that shit. It's like, fuck, well, maybe I gotta fucking do something about this now. So
that's the next step.
That's the next step. I think once we get that down, it's like there's no fucking stopping us.
Yeah.
Just get the sound down, live sound. The record, I'm really, really happy with the way the record sounds.
Yeah,
so
I think it sounds really good, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
For how you explain like how it was recorded and everything, I wouldn't have known any different. Like,
right.
It sounds really good.
Right. So yeah, it's totally DIY. Nice. But it holds up with like the fucking bands that are coming out on labels and shit. So
yeah, entirely.
Yeah. So I think that says a lot about the perseverance and the dedication of the band.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you definitely have been like pushing this for the past like 9-10 years here, and like you're finally to the point where all that hard work's starting to pay off.
Yeah.
So now, like, what's the future looking like? Maybe not like, you know, 2-5 years down the road, but like the immediate like next 6 months to the next year, as far as the band, like live shows, maybe writing again. What are your plans with everything?
Sure. So, well, the biggest thing we got in the near future is Stardust 7 in New York,
nice.
Brooklyn. We're playing with fucking Dead Congregation and Ruins of Belarus, 2 international acts, and we're also playing with a couple Philly brothers. We got Dreadlords, Vok, and fucking who else is on there? There's a couple others too. Can't think of them right now. Oh fuck, I can't think of them right now. But we got like 4 or 5 Philly bands on that bill.
Nice.
And then international acts. It's gonna be a hell of a show. So that's a big fest we're on.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge thing.
Yeah, we're trying to plan a little tour in June, like maybe like a week or something like that. But that's kind of like a big outing for us. It's hard because
you have to do everything yourself, right?
Yeah, we got to do everything ourselves, but schedules too. It's like Mike's got a family, and you know everybody's strapped into work and stuff like that. And until this really, really takes off, then I think we're kind of limited to like a week long tours and shit like that. So
I mean, that's fair. Baby steps.
Yeah, that's our shows. You know, we obviously got the release show. I like to call it the Unleash show, coming up next Friday. Not this Friday, next Friday. Boom, it's here already.
Yeah, so you got 10 days until the record's out. Like what?
Yes.
Besides like getting it done and written, like what's the one thing you're like really the most proud of with it that people should take into account when listening to it?
Dude, I haven't even had enough time to be proud of it. Because it's like, all right, when the record was done, it was like, okay, now we got this PR campaign going on.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing fucking articles and then the art for everything and getting everything ready because we're doing it all ourselves. It's a lot. Like Jimmy's doing a fucking ton for the PR thing. I'm doing a ton for the art, you know what I mean? So it's like, I haven't had a time to breathe yet since we recorded and actually had the CDs printed and everything like that. So
damn.
I think, you know, after the release show, it's going to be like, okay, now I could look back on everything and really soak it in. But it's just been a fucking crazy couple months.
I bet that'll be a good feeling though, when you can finally just like take a step back for a second and realize like all the work that you've put into it and be like, fuck yeah, I did it. It's here. Yeah. It's done.
I mean, you sort of get that with like these reviews and like track premieres and stuff like that on pretty big fucking media outlets. Like we had some shit on Decibel. We just had an article yesterday with Kerrang. Did an article, you know, on upcoming pushing the boundaries thrash black influenced acts. Nice. And we were one of 8 bands that they fucking feature, and that's, you know, that's a pretty big deal to me, because that's saying that, you know, people are seeing that there's innovation to it, and that's very important. Like I said before, that's very important to me, and that the fact that people are seeing that, it's like, fuck yeah, man. Like you just said, all the hard work is paying off, because it took a long fucking time to develop your own style. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of fucking work to be something that sounds different and something that people can't, you know, pigeonhole. That's a big part of Basilisk. And it's obviously, you know, it's obviously working. So
yeah, I think that's the one thing I would say too, is you can't really like put any one part of this record into any one genre, because it's a little bit all over the place, and I mean that in a good way.
Right.
So
right.
I think that's like the best part about it, because like, yeah, you could have written a record that sounds all like one genre, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it shows your influences, and not only that, your versatility as like a songwriter too.
Yeah, it's like, and you mentioned it before too, it's, you know, more of paying homage to these influences other than ripping them off.
Yep.
Because back in the day, you know, you had bands, they had a million influences that they were blended together, and that's why they, you know, there was such good fucking music coming out. And now everybody, it's like, oh, we like these 3 or to 5 brutal death metal bands that we want to sound like, and it's just gonna fucking sound boring. So it's just gonna sound like everything else. But if you have a million influences that you're, you know, pulling from, and, you know, black metal, thrash, it's just so much to work with, and it's so much more enjoyable to write like that.
Yeah, I would imagine it would have to be, because, you know, it's not just like personal fulfillment about writing a record. I mean, you have to like take into account trying not to sound like other bands, as well as like paying homage to other bands, and that's a fine line in itself. I mean,
stuff to do.
I can't imagine all the hard work and just like ear picking you kind of have to do, of like, well, how does it sound like as a whole? Is it gonna sound too much like this thing or this thing? And it's a lot of work, man. But once you have that style, that's your style. And the fucking, I don't know if it was the Kerrang or another one I read today, write up about us. They were like, they brought up, quote, the Basilysk sound. And it's like, damn, dude, like we have our own sound. I would agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, you know, and I always thought so, but it's like, damn, people are fucking picking up on it. That's pretty fucking cool. So that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, there you go. See, we found it.
Not that I'm not proud of this at all. It's just, like I said, I haven't really have time to sit back and like think about it.
Yeah.
But
it's
as far as the new music and writing and stuff like that, it's we're gonna do a 3-track EP. You know, I think that's a good idea. It's something I had in mind for a long time anyway. Mm-hmm. But I think it actually really works with just coming out with this full length and then having like a short EP come out. You know,
I think
it gives it a little bit of time to breathe, and I can't imagine, you know, pursuing a fucking full length right after this.
Yeah, I think that's a trend I've been noticing a little bit too, is like a band will put out a full length and then let it go for a little bit and then put out an EP to kind of satiate people to wait for the next thing, because people get restless, and, you know, if you're not constantly putting out music, they forget about you in like a year, and it's
Right.
like, what happened to this band? Well, they just
that
put out a
sucks.
record last year.
I think I heard you say that on the Necro episode.
You might be right.
That sounds
We probably did
that
talk
sounds
about
really
that.
familiar. But yeah, you're right. It's like, I guess I don't know if it's a trend. I don't really follow too many new bands, but if it is, then it does make sense to do.
Yeah, you kind of have to in this day and age where everything is just so at your fingertips.
Yeah, and I really really hate that aspect of people like just forgetting about you after. That sucks, dude. Fuck that. Like if something stands out to me, I'm gonna keep with it, you know.
Same
if it's a
here.
new band, if it's an old band, it's like I'm not gonna forget about you. But I think that goes with all the new music. It's like flooded, you know.
Yep.
It's like, and you know, short attention spans and stuff like that. It's like, up on to the next one. That was cool, thanks, but you know, on to the next one.
Yeah, I can't imagine being that way, man. Because like if I like a record, I pretty much listen to it nonstop, and it gets a little overwhelming sometimes because I'll like so many things at one time, and it's like, oh, how do I listen to everything at once? Like, can that just be possible?
That's why it's really cool to do the seasonal thing like I do. It's like, because every year it's like fresh again.
Yes.
So, you know, I'll use the fucking Domination thing again. It's like every year, I don't know why. It's fucking, maybe because it's the first time I heard it was around like Christmas time.
Okay.
Or maybe it could be the bells at the end with Hate Work.
Yes.
That remind me of, like, you know what I mean? Like the Christmas bells. I don't know what it is.
Now that you mention it.
But I listen to that album like every fucking December. For like the whole month. I'll listen to it like for every fucking day for a whole month. Every December. And like then it keeps it fresh, and then I don't even get sick of it. And then the next year I'm like, oh fuck yeah, it's time to listen to Domination again. And then there's like the winter thing, I'll start listening to black metal. And then like summer rolls around, I'll put on some fucking like thrash and more aggressive, you know, fiery stuff. Which if I got time, I could talk about that, like the seasonal aspect of Basilysk too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We got all the time in the world.
Oh fuck yeah. So cool. Because I really want to get this, you know, I want people to hear the concept too, because it's like this album, very fiery, very all over the place, very aggressive, right? Because that's all. It's like a death thrash album, not so much the black influence like on the first album, but very like death thrash, very aggressive, you know, punchy at times, and that's what I was going for, you know, like it's the summer album, so all the stuff I listen to in the summertime, kind of, that's what went into this. It's like all those influences.
Yeah, I really like that aspect too, because I maybe it could just be me and you, and we're in this little bubble right now, but I have that same thing where like I only have records that only resonate with me in certain times of the year too. It's like I've tried listening to them like in the summer or spring, and it's just like, man, this doesn't work. It doesn't give me that same feeling. Not that I don't enjoy it, but it has a little extra if I listen to it during this time of year.
Exactly.
I wonder what that is, you know, like why it just clicks that way in our brains like that.
You know what? Well, the black metal thing's pretty obvious. It's like it's about cold, winter, dead, you know, freezing and all that, and like the lyrical content helps with that. I don't see how people could listen to that in the summer. Like it just doesn't.
I have one record that I will defend to my death that I listen to pretty much all year round except for the winter. And it's not necessarily like a traditional black metal album. It's more like melodic black metal, but it's Dissection's Rain Chaos record.
All right, yeah, I love Dissection, man.
That album for me, man, like spring and summer, fall, for sure.
Yeah, you know why? Because it's not like the first two albums.
Nope.
It's that is kind of like, that could work. I could see that. It could be like a fucking Universal album.
Yeah.
Because it's like pretty much just like a rock and roll kind of.
It really is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tried listening to it in the winter, and I'm like, no, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, right. I could see that because you're like, all right, I want to listen to Storm of Light's Bane or the Somberland.
Yep, and those
Instead.
fit way better.
It fits. Yeah, exactly. So, fuck yeah, man. I'm glad somebody else is thinking that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I was also, I forget who I was talking to about this pretty recently too, but there's also those records too that are so tied to like certain memories in your life or times in your life that are nostalgic now at this point, and every time you listen to that record, it just kind of like brings you back to that moment in time, and you know, whether it's a good time or a bad time, like it still has those things attached to it. And that's such a like uniquely personal thing with records. Everybody has like their different record or two, and I love thinking about that and then hearing about like what everybody's kind of record is, so to speak.
Yeah, that brings you back to that time.
Yeah.
Can't really think of at least like a metal album that brings me to like I mean, like I said before, like a seasonal thing. Totally, like certain albums will bring me to the season, but like a bad time in my life or something, I don't know. I can't really think of anything right now.
I mean, it doesn't have to be metal. That's the thing. Is like I personally listen to like all kinds of music. I'm sure you probably do as well. And it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a metal album. It's just like a record. It's a nice.
You know what though? I could say, all right. So I could say, you know, like Alice in Chains or even Rush, dude. Rush. Anytime I listen to Rush, it reminds me of high school. I don't know why.
Interesting.
I can't put a finger on it, but anytime I listen to Rush, it's like, oh yeah, I remember back in high school. And like Alice in Chains too, is because before my death metal days, it was like I was really, really into grunge and like that, you know, that era.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of Alice in Chains myself. I even think like some of their riffs are on the verge of metal. Like if you listen to Jerry Cantrell's like playing style, it's basically metal.
Yeah, well, it's blues, which, you know, blues is, or metal's derived from blues, so that works. Well, yeah, like some people call them metal bands, some people call them fucking grunge bands, some people call them a rock and roll band.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like for me, it's somewhere in between rock and metal. So,
yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and that's a cool place to be. That's a really, really fucking cool place to be.
Yeah,
I think that's why they stand out and resonate with metalheads, you know?
Yeah, they're, as much as I enjoy like Nirvana and I really enjoy Sonic Youth like kind of era of stuff, but there was always something for me that I enjoyed Alice in Chains like way, way more. I don't know why it is.
It's just so good. Like that's some shit that I could listen to any time of year. Actually, Facelift, I think, is more of like a summery. It's got that kind of like summery, bluesy, some of those kind of riffs to it. But anything else like the self-titled or Jar of Flies, it's kind of like I could kind of listen to that anytime. Yeah. Dirt's kind of like a universal. Like I said, it just reminds me of high school. It's not really like a seasonal thing for me.
Yeah, the time and place of like, I get what you're saying. So I guess let's kind of wrap it up here. I guess we've been going for a little over an hour and 40. So where can everybody find the record? That's the most important thing, because I want to make sure people can get it from you guys or wherever it's available.
Sure.
Where can people find all that stuff?
So we have a Bandcamp page. You could buy it from there. It will be on there. And for the local Philly people, we got it in a couple record stores. We got it in Creep Records. We got it in Noise Pollution Records.
Nice.
Repo Records, and our biggest friend and fan in the record industry, Chris from Vinyl Altar. That's solely dedicated to metal music.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is awesome. Yeah, I mean that's like something I really cherish about the Philly quote scene is that place, Vinyl Altar. All metal, man.
I wish. How long has that place been around?
They opened, I'm gonna say 2017, 2016, 2017.
Damn. Okay, that would have been
Yeah.
after my touring days. So
Okay.
I used to be like a big
It's
vinyl hunter on
relatively
the
new.
road.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever in Philly, man, it's stop by. It's right by TLA, I believe. That's the venue.
Okay.
Actually, I met Mayhem there.
Oh shit.
They did,
Really?
Yeah, they did a signing there. Believe it or not.
You know something I've been thinking about recently. Maybe we'll kind of close out with this, I guess. I'll get your feelings on this. So, are you aware of the Lords of Chaos movie coming out?
Oh God! All right, yeah.
Okay.
I'm aware.
So it's so weird to me that the bands did all these fucked up things, burning churches, murdering each other, murdering other people, but when it comes to a movie being made, they don't want to own up to any of it. It's like no, that never happened. We're not going to talk about it. It didn't happen. And I'm like, why are you all of a sudden like turning your back on this thing? Like, I get it. It sucks. You guys have grown up now. Like, you're not kids anymore murdering people.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to own up to it. And
I don't know if it's so much as of them not owning up to it as it is like, fuck Hollywood. You know? Like, that's totally not black metal.
Yeah. I get
and
that.
I think it's kind of like a fucking joke. Like, who wants to really be played by Hollywood actors in a fucking stupid, like, contrived, not even true to historical facts movie? Who's gonna like want to align with that? Not me. I certainly wouldn't. I think it's corny as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's the thing that got me is because Mayhem did authorize their music to be used in the movie out of all the other black metal bands.
Right, but I think it was after much resistance. I don't know why. I actually recently heard that they did.
Yeah.
And I'm still confused as to why, because that's kind of fucking dumb. But if everybody else is, resisting, like, why are you gonna be the sellout and fucking, give them the music? That's fucking stupid. But I heard about that. But I think that's fucking some sellout move, honestly.
Yeah, I'm really curious because I know Jonas Ackerlund, the guy that directed it, like he has some roots in the scene. I'm just
Bathory.
like, yeah, but I mean, yeah, Bathory, but like, I don't understand why all of a sudden people are just kind of like, I mean, I get the over exaggeration aspect of it. That's with like any fucking, like even the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, like I went and saw that. I'm a huge Queen fan. I was just like, man, none of this shit happened. Like, what the fuck is that?
I didn't see it. Yeah.
It's a great movie. Like, don't get me wrong, but I know their history like fairly well, and I'm just like, this is all bullshit. Yeah. But I mean, I guess that's like part of the movie aspect. You have to over dramatize it for the sake of people watching it. But
I mean, you know what they could have done.
Situation's already overly dramatic. I mean, they murdered somebody in burned churches, so.
Right. But what they could have done that could have been like a little bit cooler is just don't make it based off of like real characters, like real people. I mean, like don't, like that's what made it fucking stupid, and that's what made metalheads hate it. It's like, all right, you're just like getting these fucking like goofy 20-year-olds, teenagers, maybe. I don't know who's playing the fucking roles, but I know Macaulay Culkin's brother. Like, that's a joke in itself. That's hilarious, dude. He looks like, I saw the trailer. He looks like a fucking duck, dude. He looks like, I call it Marduk.
Marduk. Oh, shit.
He looks like Marduk. But yeah, that's a joke in itself. What? Like, they could have just made a movie about like killings and like wrote a script, like made something artistic about it, and not just like tried to, or at least said that it was based off of true events, and then not even made it true to form. That's kind of like, that's where I draw the line.
That's not a bad point. You have a very good point there. I think just for me, I have like a morbid curiosity with the film, so I'm gonna watch it either way. You know what I mean?
All right.
I don't think I'll like it.
Don't fucking go and pay for it. If there's anything that if there's anything I advocate fucking pirating, it's that fucking movie.
Yeah, no, I've already been searching for it. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, because don't support it financially. Don't let them know that people are going to see this shit.
All right.
Or willing to pay for it.
All right, I think that's a good way to close this episode out there.
Right,
the Lords of Chaos
Lords of
drama.
Chaos.
Okay, so let's see. You guys have a Facebook page. You have a Bandcamp. Even though I'm gonna type everything out, can you spell it so people will remember?
Sure.
Basilysk.
Spell the name.
Yeah, Basilysk.
Basylysk.
Cool.
It's kind of like, all right. It's kind of like Sacrifice by Venom, but it's like Basylysk.
That's good. Hey,
there you go.
I can hear it now that you said it, but when I was thinking of it, I was like, okay, wait, how does that work? Yeah.
Just remember that. No, it's just the traditional spelling for Basilisk, but with the Y, the second I. That's it, baby.
All right. Let's